Hey y'all, welcome to Shade and the City. It's your girl Treese here. And of course, we're here to get into Beyond the Gates. This is Friday's episode, season 1, episode 128. I said, let me go ahead and get it done because I know I got a long day tomorrow and I ain't got time to double up. If you haven't already, all of my Shade Squad new viewers, please do me a favor. Go ahead, hit that like button for us. And if you liking the vibe over here, please go ahead and subscribe, okay? And go ahead and drop down in the chat. Let us know that you're new here. But we're a whole big family. We'll be happy to welcome you to the BTG Shade Squad. But anyway, so yeah, y'all, let's get into this episode. And yeah, let's get shady, y'all. So we see Danny down at the country club. She's texting Andre because apparently he's late. When Bill just happens to walk up and he's like, "Oh, is this other seat taken?" And so Danny's like, "Well, that depends on where your wife is, because 4H is hell on wheels." Okay, so Bill tells her, "Nah, she at home, and I'm supposed to be here for a meeting with a client, so you ain't got to worry about it." So she said, "Well, go ahead, take a seat. I'll let you sit down there." So he tells her that, you're glowing, like you just want to battle or something. And then he reminisces on how, they went to battle together in the past. And Danny says, it was always more fun when they were on the same team. And then Bill adds, like, oh, like when Chelsea was missing. And so Danny says that, yeah, but now that Chelsea's back, we can get back to normal. So Bill tells Danny how upset he was seeing Chelsea like that. And Danny assures Bill that once she feels safe again, she'll regain her confidence, get back to taking over the fashion world. Then we see him like, my daughters have always been my priority. And Danny's like, okay. And Bill says, but if Chelsea wasn't aware before, I know she knows it now. Like, I can't believe that, Chelsea thought I wouldn't accept who she loved. So then Danny goes down memory lane about how he was not very fond of all of her little high school male suitors. And Bill said, no, I didn't like them. And I would give him a hard time again. I said what I said. So then Danny asks his feelings about Madison, and he says, of course, he likes her. And of course, because she helped him recover from the stroke. So he ain't got no issues with Madison. He thinks she's a smart girl. And, we all know in Sky's world, in Sky's words, I hate to say it, but the brainless unicorn. So I can understand why he wanted her to be with somebody smart. Now, then Daddy brings up how, you even had a problem with Jacob because he was just a cop until you found out that Elon was his daddy and the chief of police. And so Bill said, look, I'm capable of change. So Danny thanks him for helping her hold it together during the crisis, right? Naomi has Chelsea over her place, and she tries to get her to eat, but Chelsea still clearly has not eaten anything. So Naomi suggests, well, you know what? Why don't you help me go through my closet, girl? I got some things I want to donate to charity. And Chelsea said, girl, you don't need my help with that. And she said, but I appreciate what you're trying to do. I see you, you see me, we see each other. You know what I'm saying? And so Naomi realizes, all right, I get it. Your heart's just not in it. And Chelsea says, well, I just can't shake the feeling that something bad will happen. And Naomi said, well, that's absolutely normal. She's like, well, what do I do? And so Naomi was like, nothing. Just do nothing and just rely on your family and the support that you had until you can figure things out. So Chelsea says she's not sure what to do next, and she hates not knowing. And then they compare it to her being, Naomi says something about how she was never a cocoon type of girl. She always wanted to pop out and be a butterfly. And I can absolutely understand, because I think I absolutely am that way. I don't like the cocoon portion. I don't like to sit and fester. And no, I'm a A to Z kind of girl. I hate DEFG. Yeah. So I absolutely understand what she was saying. Chelsea said she's not sure she'll be happy being an influencer anymore. And then she starts going through, basically how that attracted Allison to her. Naomi encourages her to be a cocoon, okay? And just wait a little longer. Just, let her cook. You know what I'm saying? Before you make a final decision on what you want to do. And so Chelsea talks about, her thoughts on dreading to see Allison in court. And so Naomi brings up how, can you believe I saw that crazy at the station the other day? And she had the nerve to ask me to represent her. And Chelsea said, well, I hope you told her that you would. And so of course Naomi looking at her like, nah, girl. I just pissed off Martin and Smitty. I ain't trying to get on nobody else's bad side in the family. You know what I'm saying? Now, Tomas and Kat, this was literally the highlight of this episode. Okay. So Tomas and Kat, they're down at Orphy Jeans and she's updating him on how Chelsea is doing. And, says having Madison there is very helpful. And so Tomas is trying to, compare the love and support that Madison and Chelsea have to him and Kat. You can't compete where you don't compare. But okay. He starts talking about how he's not giving up on, trying to blow her mind. I was like, boy, just give it up. Okay. And I think she wanted to too. Like, okay, we ain't got to do that again. We've tried this twice now. It's not working out. Okay. It's not me, it's you. Okay. It's not me, it's you. So they're interrupted by Eva letting them know that, look, I know my timing could not be worse. And Kat said, yeah, I'm willing to bet it could. So Tomas tries to play advocate and he says, well, it's probably really important. So Eva says, it is, and it can't wait. And so Eva says, Kat, I know you want to hear this. And Kat tells her, no, I want you to disappear. That's what I want you to do. So Tomas tries to keep playing mediator and Kat lets him know, you're doing too much. You're doing a lot of this and you need to do this. Okay. And so Eva says, look, you know what? I realized I shouldn't have interrupted. This was bad. And she gets ready to leave before Kat said, nah, you don't interrupt the shit now. Say what you got to say. Eva said, I just wanted to apologize that my mama's plans to buy a house have created so much tension. So Kat says, and what would she do without you running interference and being her champion? And said, maybe she would just shrivel up and blow away. So Tomas cuts her off and says, look, Eva is trying to explain. And Kat goes on to say, look, she's sucking up to my daddy while doing Leslie's bidding at the same time. And so Tomas tells her, Kat, you're not being fair. And Kat said, at least I'm clear on not trusting anything Eva has to say. So Eva rolls her eyes and she's like, I've apologized so many times. And so Kat tells her, and sorry is not an eraser. And there's no amount of DNA that can erase what you did. So Eva gets up and leaves. And then Kat says, she's just like Leslie. Tomas tells Kat, oh, so you've locked in your mean girl era. And I said, oh, wait till we get to the next Kat Tomas scene. You gonna get that work. Okay. We see Samantha's little fast ass. She done brought Nathan down to the boom boom room because everybody's doing it at the boom boom room. So she's supposed to be working. Okay. So he compliments her, and of course, she's being blushing and they're supposed to be working on some English project. Samantha's acting like a flunky, and she ends up doing this boy's work for him. And I said, girl, if he don't like you, if you're not doing the homework for him, then. And the thing about it is he didn't even ask or like insinuate. She just did it. It's giving real PME, Samantha. And it's too soon, girl. You ain't even really got out there yet. And you just calm down. Calm down, girl. So he's like, oh, so now that I know you that desperate and you throwing you out here gonna do my homework for me. Oh, girl, you my secret weapon. So now he tells her about this little side hustle that he got going with his brother, and they host these parties and they rent out Airbnbs and all this other stuff. And he's like, oh, and it'd be so dope to have a model and you a Dupree. That just would be next level. And so then he tells her, oh, and don't even worry about the cover. And I said, but isn't she the special guest? I'm confused. Why would she pay a cover when she's the attraction? Did anybody else? Or is it me? Is it me? Okay, let's move on. So then Andre finally gets a text from Dan. Oh my God, this is so painful, y'all. This was so painful. We talked about this in the membership, but this was so awful. All right. I'm going to get through this as quickly as possible. Brace yourselves like they do on the airplane. You have a button, it'll let the thing down in of emergency, in case of an emergency. Okay. It'll come down. You put your mask on, make sure your mask is on before you secure your neighbors. Okay. All right, let's go. So Andre then got the text from Danny about him being late. And so he runs into Ashley on the way out the hospital. And so he's like, oh, well, how are things going? And so she talks about her and Derek figuring it out. And so Andre tells her, well, Derek is just so lucky to have you. And that's when Derek rolls in while they're talking about him. But, of course, they don't notice. So Andre is asking about his prognosis. And Ashley said, it's really hard to know what his future is going to look like. And Andre said, well, you know what? It's just good that you're there to help him through it. And so Ashley brings up, yeah, and it was good that you was there for Danny, too, when Chelsea went missing. And so Ashley said, she's lucky that you were a free man. And if it wasn't for our misunderstanding, we might have been a couple right now. And so, of course, Derek is overhearing all this. And so Ashley and Andre are over here talking about how, things would have been different if they got together, but how everything happens for a reason. Derek is still listening. It starts to sound like wedding vows at a certain point, and I tuned out. And that's all I got for y'all. Okay? That's all I got. We, again, hold on. We're going to experience a little bit of turbulence. Okay. Ashley goes see Derek. She's like, oh, you smiling. You look like you got good news. So Derek said, I'm the luckiest guy in the world because I have you. And so he tells her, how much he appreciates her sticking by him. Ashley believes, we're just so much closer than before. And she starts talking about different worlds and universes. And Derek said, I ain't got no time because the only world and the only universe I want to be in is with you, girl. Said, I'd rather be with you. Hey, I'd rather be with you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's that Bootsy Collins. All right. If you know, you know. That's real of age. You got to be real of age to know that. Okay. Danny, back at the country club, Danny and Bill are laughing that they're actually, having logical conversation. So Bill said, okay, what are you dying to say, girl? Because I can see it is ready to roll off your tongue. So Danny said, I feel like you're using me so you don't have to go home. And so Bill was like, why would you think that? And so Danny mentions, I overheard you telling Haley, to stay out of family business when Chelsea was missing. And so Bill says, that was just the heat of the moment. And so Danny said, well, you know what? I think you probably need to go buy her a couple pieces of jewelry. And, then they go down memory lane about, I guess that's how she used to get Bill, is make him buy back her forgiveness. And so then they're interrupted by Andre, who's like, okay, hey, you in my seat, bruh. Bill kind of scoffs at Andre and he's like, well, yeah, Nicole kind of brought me up to speed of what was going on. He says, I got a lot to learn about processing things with the women in my life. And Danny said, oh, is that what I am? And so Bill says, look, whatever makes you happy. And she was like, oh, I see what you're trying to do. We ain't even married no more, but you're trying to avoid the argument. I like that. So Danny said, look, my private life is no longer your business. And so Andre said, am I interrupting something? Because this feels real, real awkward. Okay. And so Danny tells him, absolutely not. Sit your ass down, Bill. You get up, and we're done here. And so Andre said, you know what? I guess clearly we need to have an X conversation. Okay. Back over at Naomi's apartment, Naomi's confused why Chelsea would want her to represent Allison. And she realizes, oh, so basically you just want me to throw the case intentionally. And so Chelsea said, yeah, because I'm worried about that pleading insanity. And the judge actually believed in her because she's convincing. So Naomi tells her, and that's why no judge would allow it. But then she starts to talk about her other concerns about being an influencer and says, unfortunately, sweetheart, whether you're on social media or not, women are harassed every day, all times of the day. So she said, you can't go back to who you were before, but you can discover a new version of yourself. Naomi says, if you're giving up on being an influencer because of your fear, would that make you happier or safer? And so Chelsea realizes, okay, you know what? You're right. I would be allowing Allison to win. And so she said, you know what? That bitch took all she gonna take from me. I ain't letting her take nothing else. And I said, that's right, Chelsea. That's right. Now, we get to the best scene of this episode, okay? Kat starts to go in on Tomas. And she said, remind me, which one of us is the wrecking ball and who's the one still standing in the rubble? And I said, that part. Tomas said, "What can Eva do to prove herself?" And Kat tells him to emancipate herself, but she won't do that because they're one and the same. So then she goes on about how, when a pariah becomes a parasite and is living off her family and is in their community, mooching off her daddy. And so Tomas was like, but that's her daddy too, Kat. And that just pisses Kat even off even more. Okay. But she said, what is it about little evil adjacent that has turned you and my dad? And she said, is it something about downtrodden women that appeal to your Captain Save-A-Hoe instincts or something? I'll accept the Emmy for a cat in her place if she can't make it to next year's Emmys awards. I'm just saying. So then she gets up and leaves. And so Tomas is, please don't go. Stay right by my side. By my side. I'm sorry. That's old, immature. If you know, you know. He tells her, look, Eva just looking for some family. Kat said, I applaud you for wanting to save the world, but you're using that energy on someone who helped destroy my family, and that makes this even worse. So she tells him to take his pity for that basic bitch and choke on it. And so, of course, Eva comes over right after to have a seat. Is it safe? And so he tells her, look, I know I owe you an answer about representing your mama. Eva said, well, nah, I know you would be out of a job and you would be out of a girlfriend because, that girl, she don't play. And so literally, my notes say, so why did you ask? What were you asking for? And so Tomas says, look, I like a little challenge. And, he said, people like us, we used to life just lifing. You know what I'm saying? So then he starts talking junk about how, but being honest though, Kat letting her triggers turn her into a different person, it is taking its toll. And I said, here we go again with you pillow talk. Literally similar to what Ted did with Leslie. And here go Eva lending her ear. Y'all can't tell me. History will always repeat itself. And I'm a big history buff. Okay. That's why I feel the way I feel, soap or not. Okay. All right, let's move back on to Samantha. So she done agreed to go to Nathan's party. And I ain't gonna hold y'all. We was talking about it in the membership, and unfortunately, and I hope it don't happen, but I think she's gonna get date raped at this party. I would hate to see it, but everything is current storylines. She out here being reckless. We see what happened with KKK Kenny because her fast ass don't listen. So it's just, unfortunately, I feel like we're going down that path. Maybe I'm wrong. Y'all let me know in the comments. So she tell him she coming to the party. They about to kiss when Auntie Kat walks in to save the day. Okay. And she kicks Nathan's ass out. So Kat starts to read Samantha down about having a boy, in the boom boom room. And Samantha was like, well, you gave me a key. And she was like, but that was to work. Not bring in a random who only has one thing on his mind. And my whole thing was, I was like, why did we not get more into the fact that your cousin has just been through something very detrimental. She has PTSD, and you just invited some strange man that she has never seen before in her space. That's what I really needed her to get in her ass about. But I digress. Okay. Samantha starts to apologize, and she just begs for Kat to not rat her out. She tells her, look, if you want to have a friend over, you need to do that at your house with the proper supervision, okay? And so Samantha said, look, I'm just trying to save him from the interrogation of it all. I just being able, I just started dating and everybody else got boyfriends and I ain't want no problems, And so Kat said, look, I ain't gonna say anything, but you need to tell your parents on your own. Okay. And this is never going to happen again. And so Samantha said, I really, really like him. And, your reaction just reminded me of how my dad gets sometimes, obviously, i.e. Martin. Brace for landing. Okay. So Ashley meets Jan down at the Orphegenes to tell her she wants to talk about Derek versus Andre. Jan can't believe that she left work for this bullshit, and I can't believe that they took at least 5 to 6 minutes of good TV time to put this on our screen, but they did. They did it. So Ashley goes through her, normal neurotic rants and, how things are so electric with, it's electric. Dun, 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 dun. Boogie, woogie, woogie. She said it's electric with Andre, okay? And Jan tells her, girl, we don't need no electricity. We need Derek to put the fires out and stuff like that. And that's your soft place to land and go with what you know. So back at the country club, Danny said, boy, I am not interested in talking about no exes. So Andre brings up, well, clearly I just interrupted something. So I'm saying. So Danny said, look, Bill was just over here talking about our daughters. And Andre was like, so Bill was over here and y'all were discussing co-parenting adult children. Okay. And Danny said, yes. Because obviously, you know, me and my girls are tight and Bill doesn't want to fall, you know, to the background. So then she moves on and she said, so why don't you really want to have this conversation? Clearly you want to talk about that very bland donut over there named Ashley. Okay. And so he starts talking about how, oh, and you know, I only think Ashley's with Derek because she feels obligated because of the accident. But you know, I talked to her today and we got closure. I'm trying to make this very quick and simple for y'all. Okay. So Danny wants to move on from talking about Ashley and move on to her bedroom. Okay. Bill goes over to Naomi's and he's catching up with his girls. And Naomi tells him about June and her, you know, finding out that they're the smarty kids' parents. And so Bill was like, oh, well, does Martin and Smitty need a protective order? Because I know that was a closed adoption. And Naomi said, not, you know, the kids went along with it and it was fine. And so Bill says, well, you know what? Moving forward, I want to know everything that's going on in your lives. And I'm going to be so involved. Y'all going to be begging me for space. And I just thought this was cute because we need Bill to not be Ted. Yes, I said what I said. Okay, bars. Then we see Samantha's little fast ass. What does she do? She calls Nathan back to the boom boom room after Kat has left. And my notes say little fast ass little girl. That's what we used to call them back in the day. Okay. Back at Orphe Jeans, Eva is down there thanking Tomas. Thank you. No one ever stinks up for me like you do. And so Tomas claims that, you know, what Kat doesn't realize is you're actually keeping Leslie in check, or they be in more danger. And you know, you deserve more credit than you get. And Eva's like, yeah, I've been trying to say that. You ain't been trying to say shit, but mama. Out of here. Kat walks in and she sees the two hand holding before she walks out. And all I'm gonna say is, you know, I applaud Kat because it would have took the blood of Jesus to get me off of her. But anyway, Eva leaves to go find Ted, but tells Tomas, you know, oh, I hope things work out with you and Kat. No, you don't. No, you don't. And you're a terrible individual. Goodbye. So now we see Derek. He's sitting at the hospital. Ashley storms in and he's like, oh, he's about to spill his guts and tell her, hey, I think the feeling's coming back. Everything's coming back. And so, but before he can say anything, she comes in on one of her little neurotic rants because this is what she does. And then she ends up getting on one knee and proposing to this man. And I said, what is going on? And now we got to sit through a damn Derek and Ashley wedding. And then Danny and Andrea, you know, at the house having hot, steamy sex. And that was the end of episode 128. Y'all let me know what you thought. If you haven't already, thank you so much for your patience. If you haven't already, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure that you comment. Make sure that you guys subscribe if you are not already. And make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when we're dropping new content, okay? If you are not already, please go ahead, follow us on all the platforms, which is the TikTok, the IG, the Facebook, the Twitter, the Lemonade, the Blue Sky. I hope y'all have a wonderful, beautiful, blessed week, and I will see y'all tomorrow for episode 129. Bye-bye.